In this video, we'll be discussing the end-of-month review process. This review is a reflection on how well we were able to meet the goals laid out at the beginning of the month in the plan for care. Let's go through the key steps you should take when completing this review. We'll start by watching this video on where to find it and what it looks like.
In this training video, I will be showing you how to fill out the end of progress review. This is different from the monthly plan of care. While the monthly plan of care tells us your plans for performing care that month, the end of progress review gives us a review of what happened, how the goals went, and if you would change anything. This is due the last day of the month. This is also different from the monthly plan of care, which is due by the 5th of every month. So to find it, we are going to log in. Now that we have logged in, we are at the Better Together Supports dashboard. We are going to scroll down past the clock in and out button, past the plan of care, and we are going to look at the care progress review. We're going to click the one for the month that we are in. All right, this is the page for the end of progress review. As another reminder, this is due the last day of the month. We're going to scroll down and confirm that we have the correct client and the correct month. Alrighty, that looks good. Alrighty, the first question is, were you able to work on the goals that were outlined? Usually the answer should be yes, but every once in a while the answer will be no. You can see that we do have different pop-ups for each one. If you say no, you are required to say why not. Maybe something happened that kind of just took your attention away from what was going on. If you say yes, please tell us how it went, what happened, how the client responded, etc. So I'm going to put that it went well. Once again, like the monthly plan of care, please be using detailed sentences. You don't need to write a whole essay. We just ask that you give us more than the absolute basic information. I'm going to continue the example I used in the monthly plan of care, where I am helping a client who wanted his goal this month to be that he wanted to be more independent in the kitchen. All right, this is what I have written out for my example. We're going to go to the next question. What progress did you make towards the client's desired outcomes? What this is asking is, what did you do to fulfill the goals that you gave us in the monthly plan of care? For this example, I have put down that I've watched food safety videos with my client. I supported my client through making their favorite foods, and I worked with them to learn how to cut things safely before introducing something larger, such as a chef's knife. The purpose of this question is to tell us what steps you took to ensure that the client was able to improve towards their goals. We're going to scroll down to the next question. Did you have all of the tools that you needed? I'm going to say yes, because the client had everything that I needed at their home. But if I did say no, what tools could I use? In this example, let's say I didn't have the ability to take the client to something such as a cooking class because I couldn't find one. So for this example, I would put down, I think that a cooking class could be useful for the client, and I would like to discuss it with perhaps my relationship coordinator to see if there's a way we could make that work. All right, we're going to scroll to the next question. How will your progress this month affect your work next month? So what this question is asking is, how will you be able to build off of this? How will you be able to use the skills that your client gained this month to influence care next month? For this example, let's say the client has already expressed that they would like to continue working on their cooking skills and they would like that to be the focus of next month. So you could say that you would like to improve his cutting and stove safety skills by working with him on a dish that is primarily cutting and using the stove. Maybe you guys could practice making tacos together so that he could work on cutting the involved vegetables. You could also use this time to talk to him on how to properly use the stove so he could cook the meat. All right. This last one is on comments. So this one is not required, but it's just any final notes you have that were not able to be discussed in the previous questions. Alrighty, I'm going to review my notes really quick to make sure that everything is correct. Awesome. I am going to submit the end of progress review, and we are done.
Now that we know where to find the Care Progress Review, let's dive deeper into what it actually is. The Care Progress Review is a monthly reflection tool to assess how well we've been able to support our clients in achieving their goals. It helps us track progress, challenges, and areas for improvement based on the goals outlined in the plan for care. This review ensures that we stay aligned with the client's individualized support plan and continue making progress towards their desired outcomes. So if your last shift with the client for the month is 2 days before the calendar day at the end of the month, the care progress review would be due then. This ensures that the review is timely and reflects the most recent progress and interactions with the client. Timely submission of the care progress review helps us adjust care plans for the upcoming month, provide accurate and up-to-date information to the client's care team, including quarterly reports to the client's case manager or service coordinator. It helps us identify and address any barriers that could be affecting the client's progress. By completing it on time, we ensure that the client's care remains consistent and focused. The first question to ask yourself is, were you able to work on the goals that you outlined in your beginning of month plan for care? This is a simple yes or no, but it is critical to assess whether you could implement the plan as expected. If you did work on the goals, that's awesome. If not, let's talk about why. If yes, how did it go? Reflect on how it went. Did you encounter any challenges? Were there any breakthroughs? Was the client receptive and engaged? Provide a brief summary of the progress you made this month. If no, why not? If you were unable to work on the goals, it's important to document why. Was there a change in the client's condition? Did unexpected barriers come up? Or were there more logistical issues such as scheduling conflicts? Understanding what got in the way will help for problem solving in the future. Next, think about the progress you made towards the client's desired outcomes. This is where you reflect on any improvements, milestones, or partial successes your clients achieved this month. Even small progress counts, so make sure to document any forward movement towards the goal outlined in the ISP. Consider whether you had all the tools and resources to support your client's progress this month. Did you have access to the right materials, support, or guidance? If so, document that. If not, this is an important area to note as it will help us identify gaps in support. Following up on that, ask yourself what additional tools could have been helpful. Are there training materials, resources, or equipment that might have improved the outcome? Document these thoughts so we can work on securing them for future success. It's essential to think about how the progress this month will influence the next month. Will you need to continue working on the same goals, or are you ready to move on to new challenges? Take this time to reassess your strategy and consider how to adjust your approach when moving forward. Lastly, there is a comment section where you can add any additional information that might be helpful. Use this space to summarize your thoughts, document anything significant that happened during the month, or make a note of anything you may need help with for the next plan of care. Next, let's take a look at examples of good notes for the plan for care and compare them to poor examples. Understanding the difference will help ensure your documentation is clear and useful for everyone involved. All right, let's take a look at our first question. Were you able to work on the goals outlined in your beginning month plan for care? With the answer being yes, the DSP responded that they felt that they were able to work on their client's goals, that they were able to focus on everything they had to focus on, and elaborated on what specific parts of the plan they were able to execute. Comparing that to our first positive poor example where it says, yes, we worked on the goals. We'd like a little bit more telling us how you worked on the goals, what you focused on, things along those lines. Going back to our good examples for no, the DSP states that the client refused to work on ADLs and IADLs this month. They note specific strategies that they attempted. This was just a more difficult month. They noted that they did play a lot, and the DSP did make an attempt to work on expressive and receptive communication skills. Comparing that to our second poor example, just a one sentence that says, no, the client wouldn't cooperate. If you feel the need to write an answer like this, generally we'd like more information as to how specifically the client wouldn't cooperate. Can you define a little bit more what that means? What did you try? What didn't work? Why you think maybe this month was a little bit more difficult, just things along those lines. Going to our next example, if you answered yes, the prompt will be, great, how did it go? The DSP said that it went well, that they felt like they and the client were building a connection and it was easier to work with. Comparing that to our poor example where it's just a one-word success, we'd like some elaboration on what specific successes went well, what do you think is helping? Going back to our second good example, the DSP says that they're not really sure how it went, that the client had a rough month, but they feel that they are able to support the client the best possible way. Comparing this to our poor example, which just says good, that doesn't give us nearly as much elaboration as the previous response. If you answer no for the above question, then you will be prompted to say why not, why didn't it go well? For our good example, the DSP says that they encountered barriers that kept them from achieving the goal and lists those barriers and issues. Comparing this to our poor example that just says, I don't know, that's not really a good acceptable answer. We are looking more for, it didn't go well, tell us why it didn't go well. If you're not sure why it didn't go well, I would recommend taking a step back and observing kind of the whole month, thinking back over specific situations. Was the client having a rough day? Was there maybe something that was frustrating the client? Usually there shouldn't be an I don't know as an answer. If you're really struggling, I would encourage you to reach out for resources, and we will help you make sense of what you're seeing and help ensure that you are better prepared to move forward next month. Moving on to our next question, what progress did you make towards the client's desired outcomes? Going to our first good example, the DSP talks about how they worked hard on receptive and expressive communication, how there was a lot of phrase repetition going on. The DSP talked about how the reminders that they were implementing were yielding successful results. Let's compare that to our poor example, where the DSP says, we worked hard to make progress, success. That doesn't really tell us what kind of progress you made. So the question is asking, what progress did you make? And the response is, yay, we made progress. That doesn't really give us a good picture of what type of progress was made. Moving on, did you have the tools that you needed? If you say yes, then you can just move on. If you did say no, you'll be prompted to answer the question, what tools do you think you could use? So going to our good example, the DSP says that they would like information on communication skills, maybe some events that are happening in the area, and would also like some resources on how to better communicate with children. Let's compare this to our poor example where there is nothing or there is blank. If you are saying that you didn't have the tools that you needed and then you're not telling us what tools you think you could have used, we really aren't able to help you out. If you do get this prompt, please make sure that you didn't click yes by mistake. And if you do need tools and you're not really sure what tools you need, I would encourage you to tell us specifically what kind of issue you're having and what you would like resources on resolving. All right, and our last question, how will your progress this month affect your work next month? What this question is encouraging you to do is to reflect on the month that you've had and think about how you can apply strategies and learn skills to whatever progress that you make in the future. So taking a look at our first good example, the DSP states that they have learned that the client does really well with learning through play, and the DSP would like to use this knowledge towards potentially practicing communication skills with similarly aged children. They also state that they feel like the cues are going well for using the bathroom and they would like to continue using that. Let's compare that to our poor example where it's blank, I'm not sure, something along those lines. It is very hard to not build on skills. Similarly to somebody who is a professional sport player, they will practice their sport for years at a time, practicing daily, and they will still not ever be perfect at that. We as humans will always be building on our skills. And so even if it's just repeating the goals from this month, that's still something that you can use. That's still progress that you can make for the next month. There should not ever be a reason to leave this blank. If you think that this skill has been adequately learned, that the client is able to do it well and do it independently, then there is always another goal that you can work on, something you can build off of, something along those lines. In summary, the end of month review is an opportunity to reflect on the work with the client and ensure that you are making meaningful progress. Please be honest and detailed in your responses. This ensures that we have all the information needed to provide the best care possible moving forward. Thank you very much for watching this training video.